Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I'm your host, Joe Zollo. Special time the next 4 weeks, 9 p.m., of course, heating way to our Women of Fantasy Football entire month-long series we have throughout August. And we are here talking rankings for the season. Of course, as we always do, quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, and we always start with the quarterback position. Myself, Ryan, Josh, joined by Chris and Joel to talk about the consensus top 12, who we like week 1 throughout the season, somebody outside the top 12 they could see bumping inside the top 12, a whole bunch to talk about. Let's get into it. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zollo, as always. Ryan, Josh, and joining us on the bottom row as Ryan is kicked out of the basement, Joel and Chris. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello,
How art thou this evening?
Good.
I take issue not being a basement boy. I mean, I understand that I'm part of the first string here, but
yeah. No basement boy. And Jersey J off the bat, gotta have Daniel Jones in the top 15.
So as I was prepping, Josh asked me to do the show sheet. And so I pulled last year's show sheet to get an idea because I've actually not done a show sheet for this show before. And one of the first questions is, who stands out to you as a weird top 12 pick for us? And I actually believe it was Joel was like Daniel Jones with 18 question marks, because why the fuck was he at our QB 10 last year, folks? So
I'm going to blame all of that on Austin, because Austin was very high on Daniel Jones last year because of the perceived rushing floor.
So look, on opposite day, or on ESPN 8, the Ocho tomorrow, Daniel Jones might be a top 15 in whatever sport they're showcasing there, but he's not a top 15 NFL athlete by any means.
I don't think I have him as a top 30 quarterback. I can't say.
Maybe for the Giants.
Top 15 bottom player in the NFL. Top 15 for the Giants, sure, why not? He is a starter, so, he's better than 31 guys, maybe. Who knows? I don't know what fucking printer is going on in the background, but somebody needs to figure that shit out. All right? That's Joel. That's you. I don't know what dial-up tone you had going on in the background there.
I hope that wasn't me.
Figure it out.
I'm going to guess it's the vacuum cleaner.
Well, I'm talking about NFL news. Puka Nacua dealing with a knee injury. He should be good to go for week 1. Josh Downs has a high ankle sprain. He could miss the opener. None of you care. Rondale Moore leaves practice on a cart in an air cast, non-contact, likely not good. Rondale Moore, baby. Look out. Mike Williams activated from the PUP, soon to be back on the PUP, just in about 5 to 6 weeks. Give him some time. And then, if you've missed any of the last 48 to 72 hours, Brandon Ayuk is a former teammate of Christian McCaffrey, is going to be traded to the Browns and Patriots because they have the framework, and then is going to go to the Steelers because the Patriots aren't interested anymore, but the Browns are a smokescreen because they really want to deal with the Steelers, and the 49ers don't want to pay him, and then all these things.
The Patriots are now out, they've said.
Yeah, that's what I said. The Patriots are out.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Who would have thunk it that Brandon Ayuk, a guy with a horrible attitude, is not going to have an easy time trying to find a trade partner? Who would have thought?
And find $30 million a year.
$30 million for Brandon Ayuk. You know what? Good for the 49ers, because I don't think he's worth $30 million. So
it's the way the wide receiver market's going these days. So
look, I'm happy. I'm happy for him. I hope he gets paid. Hope he goes somewhere. And I hope that the Steelers get him, because you want to know what that makes the 9-8 Steelers? 9-8. It doesn't really help them that much. So they're going to be the exact same when he ends up going to Pittsburgh. It's not going to matter. Considering each team they're talking about, they're trying to throw in a receiver in the trade. So it's very, very interesting. Ass backwards. We'll see what happens with Brandon Ayuk. This is the ranking show. Rankings can be found on clubfantasyffl.com. The next 4 weeks go live at Wednesdays at 9. So we're normally live at 7. We heed way to the Women Fantasy Football podcast, of course, for the entire month of August. And this week, we're talking quarterbacks. And we have Josh, Ryan, Chris, and Mr. Joel here with us. And not on the show is Austin, R.I.P. He's somewhere. He's not dead. He's just not here. He's alive. He's just not on the show. Josh, Ryan, and Chris's rankings are on the site. Joel and Austin still waiting to get up there as well. But those will be on there very, very soon. The consensus top 12 for these gentlemen, as my malware freaking pop-ups keep popping up on my laptop.
While you put those malware pop-ups down, why don't you let Josh talk about our wonderful partnership with Trophy Smack?
See, that's not in here. It just says let Josh pitch WAF, which I kind of already did. So he didn't say anything about Trophy Smack. So
I wrote it.
Okay.
But if you just done what I said, Josh.
Oh yeah. Okay. Dingus. Talk about Trophy Smack and that cool little thing we just we started to do with them.
Oh goodness. Yeah. So WAF has started a partnership with Trophy Smack. You can go to our unique affiliate link. It's trophysmack.com/WOFF. Anything that you purchase from Trophy Smack through that direct link goes straight to us, which is great as we continue to try to grow this site as well as Women in Fantasy Football. But something unique that we are doing specifically for the month of August. Anything that you buy from Trophy Smack, whether it's draft boards for your offline draft, championship belts, rings, wall smack, trophies, you name it. Any commissions that we earn are going to go directly into our WAF Galvanized Scholarship Fund. If you're familiar with anything that we've done here at Club Fantasy and Women in Fantasy Football, you know how much our partnership with Laura Oakman and Galvanize truly mean to us and what we're able to do for women in the sports industry. This week, for our raffles, we've raised $875, which that was the highest week one earnings that we've ever done through 5 years. Yes, through 5 years of our Women of Fantasy raffles. So super excited to continue our partnership with Galvanize, and super excited to continue to bring on great women to feature them on the show. And honestly, throughout the season, I mean, most people that follow us know, we have zero issue bringing on female guests on the shows. Love chatting with them. Any guest, truthfully. I mean, I don't really care what's between your legs. If you know ball, you know ball. So
that's why there's 5 white guys on this stream.
Yeah, right. That worked.
Hey, we are working on getting our first female ranker. It is in the works as we speak.
It is in the works. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, so we'll have another round of raffles that take place next week prior to our running back ranking show, which I'll announce. We'll talk more about that towards the end of the show. I don't want to get too off track as of right now. So.
I don't care what's between your legs. If you know ball, you know ball. There you go. That's the Women of Fantasy Football tagline, apparently now. We've coined it. Consensus top 12. Josh Allen, 1. Patrick Mahomes, 2. Jalen Hurts at 3. Then it goes Lamar, Dak, Joe Burrow, 4 through 6. Jordan Love, C.J. Stroud, Kyler Murray. Caleb Williams, rounding out the top 10. 11 and 12, leaving Trevor Lawrence and Anthony Richardson. Yes, folks. Anthony Richardson is not in the top 5 consensus on clubfantasyffl.com. Shocking. I know to many. Shocking. But he is not, because honestly, where he's currently at 12 might be, the amount of games he misses, and 5 where he's at on other sites might be the amount he actually plays this season. So let's not go too high on that. I am told that Josh is supposed to defend Josh Allen at 1. Was that because they
got to stick together?
Was that because they share the same name, Ryan? You couldn't let anybody else?
No, Josh has him at 1. I had everybody defend their number 1.
Oh, fantastic! All right, Josh, defend your Josh buddy.
I mean, for me, it's really easy, and I'll go to 2023 when everybody was talking about Patrick Mahomes potentially as the QB1 or top 3 QB, and he had a down season, right? Still had 4,100 passing yards. If let's say that Josh Allen regresses because Stephon Diggs isn't there. If you were to tack on Josh Allen's average rushing total to what Patrick Mahomes did as a passer last year, he would be QB1. So even if Josh Allen takes a step back as a passer this year, that rushing floor will continue to elevate him. He is an easy smash as the QB1 for me if you are specifically somebody that values having that elite QB and taking them early in your fantasy drafts.
Joel, another guy that can run is Jalen Hurts. You have him at 1. Why do you like him there?
This is pretty much just an argument for Kellen Moore over the cluster F that was Brian Johnson last year. Just a much more fantasy-friendly, competent offensive coordinator, offensive scheme. And we've heard really good things about Devonta Smith kind of developing and becoming more the 1A to A.J. Brown's 1. So I don't think the tush push is going away. You don't do something that well that other teams want to outlaw it or get it banned and just go away from it just because you lost Jason Kelsey, that we heard Cam Jurgens is doing well in camp. So I can't argue against Josh Allen or anything like that, but I don't see why Jalen Hurts can't kind of redo his 2022 should have been MVP season and be the number 1 fantasy player.
Chris, Patrick Mahomes can run when he needs to, but doesn't exactly have the rushing prowess of a Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts. You don't care. You have him at 1. I think undoubtedly the best quarterback in the NFL, but not so much in fantasy last year. Do you think he bounces back?
Yeah, I do. The main reason is the wide receivers they've surrounded himself with this year. Who was he throwing to last year? Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, Justin Watson. Rashee Rice was nice towards the end of the year, but there's a reason why I think they led the NFL in drops, as well as it brought his career touchdown percentage from 6.5% down to 4.5 last year. He also had the lowest yards per attempt, air yards per attempt, and yards per game in his career. So, I think Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown are going to be big, as well as a healthy Travis Kelce. I think he didn't get healthy towards the end of the year, maybe. So I think he's done it before. He's done it twice. Put him up to 6% in his touchdown percentage. It's close to 40 touchdowns. Last year was the first time in his career he didn't have at least 2 rushing touchdowns. Give him 2 to 3, and I think he can do it. I think the offense is going to be on a revenge tour this year.
Ryan, a guy with an unsigned weapon, and I mean Walmart version of a Travis Kelce, the wallest of Walmarts, a 31-year-old starting running back, and the archer himself who hasn't hit a bullseye since he was with Houston. You have Dak Prescott at 3. What are the odds he finishes there and or finishes number 1?
So I liked Dak Prescott a lot more before this CeeDee Lamb thing continued to drag out. Now, Dallas has said that Lamb's contract is the priority. So I'm hoping to see that get done and things work out. Though people are saying Brandon Cooks looks awfully capable right now. Not that I'm unhappy to hear that, but he's certainly not CeeDee Lamb. And then honestly, behind Lamb and Cooks, there's also a whole lot of nothing. So there are a lot of reasons to be afraid, but he was in 6-point touchdowns, the QB2 last year. Right now I have him, Allen, and Hurts all within 6 points of each other. He's by the day when you guys know how I react to coach speak, I move him up, I move him down. But he usually flirts with 2 to 3. He doesn't usually take over 1. The reason I've made the pitch that he could be QB1 is exactly what you said, Joe. And that is Ezekiel Elliott has not looked good so far in camp. He is not what he was the last time he was in Dallas, and there's not much behind him. There's no reason to think that Dallas isn't going to throw more this season if they go in with this roster. And 1 to 2 more pass attempts per game is likely to make Dak Prescott the most attempts in the NFL next year. And I think he's going to have a run at highest yards. Obviously, he doesn't quite have the rushing upside, certainly not of Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts. But interestingly enough, Dak Prescott scored more rushing touchdowns with Zeke on the team than with Zeke not on the team. And that was with Tony Pollard just being abysmal in the red zone last year. So maybe we see better Dak Prescott in the running game with ancient Zeke not being able to get it done. Do I think he could be the QB1 like these guys making their argument? Probably not. I think one of the rushing upside quarterbacks is going to overtake him. I do think he is likely a top 3 quarterback in the season, and I'll talk more about him later in the show again. So.
Josh, I want to bounce to you on the Jalen Hurts thing. There's a report out with Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts hating each other. There's bad blood. The second half of the season wasn't great. Shocking. Who would have thought Nick Sirianni is the biggest fucking dummy on planet Earth with an NFL head coaching job? How do you feel about the situation with Jalen Hurts, and do you sour on him at all, knowing that there is a very strong difference of opinion, and I don't think Nick Sirianni is going to roll over, and neither is Jalen Hurts? Does that hurt you at all from a fantasy football perspective? I think it obviously hurts from a football perspective, but in fantasy terms, do you think that hurts him a little bit?
I don't think it hurts from fantasy at all. I mean, we saw literally this whole thing play out last year, and he was a QB2 by season's end. So I'm not really that worried. QB and head coach butting heads towards the end of last year. Seems like everything is kind of reconciled. There's a lot of positivity going on in camp. Everybody seems to be taking really well to Kellen Moore's offense, which I feel like didn't happen in LA last year, which led to obviously Kellen Moore looking for a new OC job. This Eagles offense should be absolutely dynamic. And it's going to put up so many real life NFL points and so many fantasy points. So, I think you can make the case for Jalen Hurts easily as the QB1 as well. I'm just trying to leave off my Homer goggles. That's all.
And that's fair.
What gives me hesitation about Hurts is the tush push. No more Jason Kelce. And
that doesn't worry me one bit.
You didn't let me get to DeAndre Swift. 26 attempts inside the 10, 14 attempts inside the 5, and he only had 4 touchdowns. I think Saquon Barkley is going to have a lot more than that, so I think that's going to cut into his rushing upside.
How many touchdowns as a team did the Eagles have?
I don't have that in front of me.
I don't know.
Okay.
The
way that I'm getting at is that number in and of itself can very easily go up.
I seen Swift get tackled at the 1 repeatedly, and that number makes sense.
Push.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift has never been able to truly break tackles the way that Saquon Barkley can. So I don't really have an issue with, Barkley getting tackled at the 1 or them saying, you know what, let's not give Jalen Hurts the ball because we're going to give Barkley the football. Like, they're both going to get theirs. I mean, we've literally seen a year where Jalen Hurts had over 10 rushing touchdowns and Miles Sanders had 12. So these are all realities that exist, right? And Saquon Barkley is better than both Miles Sanders and DeAndre Swift. So I don't really see much of an issue here at all. I mean, the tush push, like I said, it's not going away. Maybe it's not the 97% success rate that it was with Jason Kelce, but you still have a guy in Saquon Barkley behind Jalen Hurts that squats over 600 pounds that pretty well knows how to push a pile too. So I'm really not that worried about it.
It'll be interesting, and we all have the same consensus top 5. And by we, I mean everyone but me, because I don't care about rankings. I just simply don't have the time. These guys have more time, and they're better than me. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott. The consensus top 5 here from these guys. Now, outside of the top 12, who do we feel can slide into the top 5? And Joel, I'll start with you. You're going with last year's passing yards leader, Tua Tagovailoa. Gross.
Gross. Yeah, I just led the league in passing touchdown or passing yards. Remember, all you hear on Twitter, the internet, is he has never thrown for 30 touchdowns. He had 29 last year. That's the definition of a distinction without a difference. They had 30 as a team. They gave Mike White a garbage time touchdown. They had 27 rushing touchdowns. That's more than Carolina had total touchdowns. That's more than the Giants had total touchdowns. If you get any regression on that rushing touchdown and turn those into passing touchdowns, he's a 35 TD player. That's as many as Dak Prescott led the league with last year. I don't think that number is going to lead the league again because there's just going to be more. Last year was a historically low touchdown season, but you kick 5 or 10 of those rushing touchdowns and turn them into passing touchdowns, and he's pushing 40. So I think he's he's a layup to be outside of the top 12, someone who could be in the top 5.
See, I'm just terrified that you've kind of made my argument. Is he led the league in passing yards last year and was like the QB 11? Like, I just don't know. You're banking on a lot for 5 or 10 touchdowns to slide his way on a team that you would think with a team with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, they'd be super pass heavy. They skew way closer to the run. They run a lot.
Inside the 5, do you expect Raheem Mostert get 20 touchdowns again?
Well, what about
Okay. I just, if you
Jeff
turn
Wilson Jr. still have a roster spot? Is he still there?
Who's that?
Yeah,
he's
Jeff
right
Jeff
now.
Wilson Jr.
I mean, in fairness, 5 more touchdowns for Tua. He's QB6.
There you go.
So
I'm
I don't see
terrified. Yeah.
I don't see it. He got paid. Now he's just gonna phone it in.
Well, that's Joe's constant argument for these guys. So,
Well, if you combine, was it the top 7 or 8 paid quarterbacks in the NFL? They have a sub 500 playoff record. Fun fact: sub 500 playoff record.
fun.
Yeah, sub 500 playoff record. No Super Bowl wins. Fun fact. In 3 appearances, something like that. Chris, you have, if you're talking consensus rankings, you have definitely Jaden Daniels, and that's a guy that will come up constantly, I think, as he is becoming more and more well-liked throughout camp. But in your personal rankings, you say Brock Purdy. Why do you say that?
Oh, I've already yelled at Chris that he has to talk about Daniels here because
I didn't want to
Chris
talk
has
about
Daniel-
Purdy anyway.
Yes, Chris has Daniel at 7. Josh and I have him at 17. I don't have Joel right in front of me, but I know Joel and I are pretty similar on everybody. So
Okay, so Chris, you have him very high, and is that because of anything that's happened recently with like a lot of people coming out saying he looks great, or you're just that high on him?
That's what he did at LSU. 31.7% scramble rate over his final season. The most a quarterback has scrambled in college in over a decade. I got that stat from the Ballers a few days ago. Another stat I've seen, he ran the ball, or he scrambled 9.4% of non-pressure dropbacks. So he's just getting out in the open field and he's burning dudes. He's going to have 150 carries. Let's just put it out there. He's going to have a Lamar-esque Justin Fields type of season where he's going to have 130 to 170 carries. You look at his college stats, he's carrying the ball 10 plus times a game. And I don't see how you can put someone like that outside of your top 12. Josh, Ryan.
I don't have him at 10 carries a game. I have him at 110 carries for the season. So I guess that's where I would need to go back and take a look at just that in general, because Kyler Murray was a runner, not to the extent of Jaden Daniels, but I don't think he ever rushed for over 120.
Kyler Murray, let's get to him. Who is his head coach? Cliff Kingsbury, offense coordinator here. Let's see what his finishes were.
I don't know if that
with
helps your case.
It does, because Kyler was the QB7, QB2, QB4 in points per game. That was the year he missed 3 games when he tore his knee. And then what happened last year when he came back? He was, top 12-ish. But he was really good with Cliff
I think,
Kingsbury.
in the last month of the season, last 6 weeks. So
he was really good with Cliff Kingsbury. He ran the ball 80, 90 times and that's Kyler not really known to be running like Jaden Daniels. So. Well, who's to say he's not a better passer than Kyler Murray too?
So there's a couple interesting points. I think this is the first good comment Jay's had all night, and he's had about 30 of them.
I said Jay is going at us in the comments right
I love
now.
it. I love it. He says a man amongst boys in college. I think that's very clear with a lot.
Well, he
of
was
these
a
top
23-year-old
draft picks.
senior. It's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I mean it's very accurate for a lot of the guys, especially in the first round.
I was gonna say it's not that accurate because they're all old as hell right now.
Mm-hmm. So he says he's going to RG3 it and break both of his legs. I will say the durability could come into question a tiny bit, considering he is on the smaller side of things. And speaking of durability, Gator brings up, you can have Daniels in the top 10. Do we not learn anything from Anthony Richardson? Daniels can't slide in a way he holds up a full year without adding 30-plus pounds. And we talk about, again, the size. Anthony Richardson could eat Jaden Daniels. He's that big. And
but he
got hurt.
Jaden Daniels. He would miss.
It's like I'm not saying you're right or wrong on that, Chris. I'm just saying Anthony Richardson's about twice the size of this man. So the injury
I'm just
concern
saying-
definitely comes into play, but Gator will say you don't project injury unless
Yeah.
you're me. So you don't do that. So
If he gets hurt, you could just pick up Tua. Apparently, he's going to be a top 5 QB this year.
yeah, exactly.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
See, and that's how I treat guys like Jaden Daniels. I did the same thing last year with Anthony Richardson in the one league that I drafted him in. The mistake I made was I paired him with Justin Fields. But when you take these like younger,
Hey,
yeah, right?
Hey, same.
Yeah.
I still won my
So-
championship, but same.
When, with these younger, predominantly rushing quarterbacks, or at least that have the ability to rush, the reason that you draft them and you inflate them in your rankings is because of that perceived floor, right? There's 1,000% a world where Jaden Daniels has 7 touchdowns or, over 700 yards and, 5+ touchdowns. To me, if he's not scoring 10 rushing touchdowns, I don't see the value because I don't think he tops 20 passing touchdowns. So that's why he's so low in my rankings, because I only have him with 17 passing touchdowns. But again, I don't think Washington's offensive line is very good. I think their running game will be really consistent, but he's still got to figure out NFL defenses. And that's what I'm not 100% convinced that he's going to be able to do right out of the gate. Chris, I agree wholeheartedly with the scramble rates, everything that he brings to the table from a rushing perspective, but he's going to need a lot more injuries to all the guys that I have ranked ahead of him, which again, 1,000% likely to happen because we've had 2+ years with over 60 starting quarterbacks. But I don't go through and do my rankings thinking that somebody's only going to finish 10 games or 5 games or 7 games. You know what I mean?
I only have him at 20 touchdowns. It's the rushing ability. So if he gets hurt, he gets hurt. I just pick up someone else.
If you have him anywhere near 150 plus carries, that would boost him so far up my rankings.
Yeah, I only have him at 129.
To play into Chris's, I'm just going to play contrarian to you, Joshua. He's got to figure out NFL defenses. Well, he has 4 cupcake games to figure that out against the Bucks, Giants, Bengals, and Cardinals. So he has plenty of time to figure that out against. I mean, the Bengals might be middle of the league, but those other defenses are going to be bottom 10, at least in passing defense, in the NFL. So he'll have that, and then he'll go see the Browns and the Ravens, and then he'll have to figure shit out from there. But he doesn't really see a tough defense in the first 4 weeks.
I will say
season.
this on the point of Jaden Daniels. If I'm deciding that I'm going to take a quarterback based on upside, it's 1,000% Jaden Daniels over Anthony Richardson for me.
Last thought, and I'll stop talking about Jaden Daniels for now. Lamar Jackson, same thing. We've seen him come in the last 8 games of his rookie year after the bye week. He didn't really throw much. He ran a ton, and he was still a top 10 QB.
Yeah.
All right. Ryan, I'll let you sit on your 30-second soapbox of Jared Goff plays 15 games indoors this year.
14.
14. My bad.
I've studied the schedule. It's just, and that's exactly what it is. He's a different player, especially in the touchdown category. He throws more than twice the amount of touchdowns in indoor games as he does to outdoor games. The only outdoor games you need to worry about, only outdoor game you need to worry about during the fantasy regular season is week 9 at Green Bay. Now things get a little weird because his other 2 games are both week 16 and 17. It's literally the semifinals and the finals of fantasy football. So is Jared Goff going to get you to the playoffs? Probably. Is he going to win you a fantasy championship? Hell no. You better have somebody ready to go at that point. But he was QB7 last year. Maybe even QB6 in 6-point scoring. As we've all been lamenting, it's hard to find 6-point scoring on websites as readily available anymore. But QB7, QB6, and everyone is expecting regression. But with these dome games and with the possible emergence of Jameson Williams, I could actually see him throwing more touchdowns this season.
Thank you for responding, Josh. I was about to say that. Yes, you can hide a horrible secondary with a good pass rush, but we'll see. And I don't even why Will Levis? Like, why did we have to?
I wanted to get a little contrarian because everybody took the
we?
guys that I wanted to take. But I'm also looking at this more so from a top 12, like somebody that could finish in the top 12 that's outside the top 12, right? Because I think the top
but this
5
says
guys.
This says top 5.
I know, and I'll tell you exactly what I told Ryan. I've been busy with women of fantasy stuff today, so I really skimmed the show sheet. I pulled a Joe. Let's call it that.
Hell yeah!
So
you caught dyslexia for the time you were reading it.
There
That's
you
huge.
go. Exactly.
Yeah. It's an airborne disease.
I'll go with the top 5. I mean, if
No,
This
just
Tennessee
abort.
No.
Titans-
Just be like, I didn't read the
Dial
show
it back.
sheet. Let's move on.
Dial it back. It's fine. You don't. You,
No, it's
you
okay.
Could,
This Titans offense is basically the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Joe Burrow's been a top 5 quarterback. Now, I'm not saying that Will Levis is going to be Joe Burrow, but if it's the same system, there's at least an opportunity that he can be. And he has some serious weapons. Calvin Ridley, we know, is a good wide receiver. We know DeAndre Hopkins is a good wide receiver. Tyler Boyd has been a very solid wide receiver 3. Traylon Burks, while not overly productive, is still a former first-round pick. We all love Chigoziem Okonkwo, and they've got 2 quality pass-catching running backs. And the defense sucks. What are they going to have to do to keep up? Throw the football. If Will Levis throws the football 600 times, there's an opportunity there for him to finish as the top 5 quarterback if he plays 17 games.
I want to throw in. I have shit on the Tennessee defense the last 3 seasons. I think they've been absolute dog ass. On paper, they're actually not bad this year.
But there's no Mike Vrabel now to bail them out. That's the big difference.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that, but on paper, this defense is actually pretty good. I'm not saying they click. I'm not saying that. We're also Will Levis isn't finishing inside the top 5. This is a null and void conversation. But just because you brought this up, their defense is pretty good. Like, they might have the best defense in that division.
No. Texans are better than them.
Yeah, Houston.
Come on now. Come on. Yeah.
Hey, I'm just saying, I called Atlanta last year. I'll call my shot on Tennessee this year. I think they have the best defense in that division. And we will go to flipping that. Who would you kick outside of the top 12? I will give you the bottom half of the top 12 because, spoiler alert, we're not kicking out any of the top 6. 7 through 12 are Jordan Love, C.J. Stroud, Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, and Anthony Richardson rounds it out at 12. Spoiler alert, 3 guys have Trevor Lawrence. The one that doesn't is Joel, who has Caleb Williams. And I'll let Josh and Joel chime in on this because Josh also puts Caleb Williams. Joel, we'll start with you. Is it just he's a rookie and it just you don't love the generational talent out of him? What are we feeling?
I do love the talent. I just think he's going to struggle to adjust to NFL defenses. If you look at what they ran at USC last year under Kingsbury, it was literally about 70% bubble screens and wide receiver screens. It was a complete junk offense. He's not going to get away with that in the NFL. That just doesn't work. So he's going to have to make adjustments. He has great receivers. That there's no question about that. But that doesn't mean you know how to read the defense. He's been in basically air raid offenses the entire time he's been in college. I think there's going to be a significant adjustment period for him.
Josh?
Yeah, I think that's 100% fair. I mean, everything is set up for Caleb Williams to succeed. They've got a quality trio of running backs. Obviously, they have probably one of the best top 3 wide receivers in the league sets when it comes to DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and rookie Rome Odunze. But we know they have one of the top duos in Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. They just paid DJ Moore. The offensive line is improving. It's still a work in progress. I think the biggest thing is just going to be Shane Waldron's offense. I mean, I don't love it, but they're going to spread the ball around. And again, 3 quality wide receivers. There's a lot of good things that can happen. But if you told me that Caleb Williams finished the year with 16 interceptions, I also wouldn't be shocked either. That's not going to be top 12 for him, especially when he's not going to offer the same type of rushing upside that someone like Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts provide that helps counterbalance the high touchdown rate or the high turnover rate.
Before I kick it to Ryan, does Caleb Williams become the first Bears quarterback to surpass 4,000 passing yards? Yes or no? Ryan and Chris say yes. Joel, Josh?
I think he does.
Maybe not this year, but eventually.
Yeah, this year. This year, yes. No, fuck it. Let the Bears' misery continue. 100 years and you can't have a fucking 4,000-yard passer?
105.
Let it continue. Let the city of Chicago wallow in 108 years of no World Series, tying the AL record for longest losing streak with the White Sox, and you can't throw for 4,000 passing yards. You're one of the NFL's oldest franchises. Let it continue, please. Please let it continue. Ryan, we'll go to you. Another suckbag franchise. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence... I don't know. He wasn't the biggest disappointment, but it was a disappointing season last year for how highly touted he was. obviously I don't think he's as high up as he was last year in people's rankings, especially in our consensus here. You easily think he gets kicked out of the top 12? You wouldn't be surprised?
Yeah, it comes down to me where I think I don't want to say we saw the best shot out of Trevor Lawrence last year, but what I question is, can we actually see improvement from him this year? He's got, other than Christian Kirk, he's learning, and I guess Evan Ingram, he's learning new wide receivers, basically as new receivers coming in the 2 and 3 role with Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones gone. He only threw 21 touchdowns last year, only played 16 games. I just don't know that we're going to see a market improvement. And with all of that, what he did last year, he was the QB 12. So it's easy to kind of boot him out of the QB 12. The other thing that was kind of abnormal, ran for 339 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns, was actually tied for 7th among quarterbacks in rushing touchdowns. If we're going to see Tank Bigsby, I don't think Tank Bigsby is going to necessarily cut into Travis Etienne's work, but I do think 4 touchdowns from Trevor Lawrence, a bigger back like Tank Bigsby, could end up taking some of that away. So again, I see down, I don't see up out of Trevor Lawrence, at least for this 2024 season.
Chris, you also don't like T-Law. Same reasons as Ryan, any differing ones?
Same reasons as Ryan. I was hoping Ryan would be able to talk about him because I wanted to talk about CJ Stroud.
Ooh.
Right, go right into CJ Stroud, because that's where I was going to lead you to, is you think CJ Stroud gets kicked out?
He could be, yes. I think he's QB 11 or 12 in my rankings. He finished as QB 11 last year with the amazing year he had, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, over 4,000 yards passing. But my biggest problem with CJ Stroud is he's not going to run the football. He's not going to have 300 yards rushing. I think last year he had 39. Let me vet that real quick.
Tom Brady numbers.
Yes. Oh no, he had 39 attempts, 167 yards.
Not Tom Brady numbers.
Not Tom Brady numbers, but
No,
not
incorrect.
enough. If he doesn't make that jump that everyone thinks he's going to make, and he ends the season with another 23 to 28 touchdowns, he's going to get passed up because he still doesn't run the football enough. Compared to someone like Caleb Williams, if Caleb does have that CJ Stroud, Houston Texan-like season, he's going to push the ball downfield, and the difference is he's going to score rushing touchdowns. He had 27 rushing touchdowns in college in 3 years. I think that's an overlooked part of Caleb Williams' game. So if I'm picking one or the other, I would put Caleb above CJ Stroud just for the little bit more upside. CJ Stroud's one of those guys that I would want to just set it and forget it, top 15 kind of guy to me.
And Gator asks, can Williams and the Bears be the 2024 version of Stroud in the Texans? Joel, I'll ask you. Do you think it will happen? It can, obviously. Anything can happen, but
yeah,
it will
it can.
happen?
No, I don't. Josh brought it up. I mean, their offensive line is significantly lesser than the Texans. I don't think their coaching is nearly as good. I mean, you're comparing Eberflus to D'Amico Ryans and Bobby Slowick to Shane Walder, and yeah, I don't see it happening.
Anybody? Josh, Ryan?
I think they'll be better.
Ooh.
Definitely could, but I mean, they were 7-10 last year. Better is 8-9. Like, that's still not.
No. I think the Bears will be better than the Texans were last year.
That's ballsy.
The NFC North's a crapshoot. The Vikings could be good, could be terrible. No offense, Joel, but the Packers are, they're pretty good.
Well, you already offended his wife when you shat on the Vikings.
And then the Lions, I think, could also be a basement dweller this year. So I think it's anybody's division. Similar to the NFC South or AFC South last year.
All right. Well, now the real question is, if Caleb Williams becomes 1-2 for quarterbacks in the NFL with Patrick Mahomes, is Cliff Kingsbury the greatest college coach to ever exist and create NFL quarterback talent? That's the real question we have to be asking ourselves.
Yeah, that's true. The real
he was with Lincoln Riley before Cliff had a chance to screw him in this last year.
Where was Mahomes before Cliff, though? That's what I'm saying.
Playing baseball.
You damn right he was. Sleepers. Excuse me. I missed one because I scrolled down just a smidge too far. I normally put it in the middle of my screen. Anthony Richardson. Could be a sleeper because apparently he's outside the top 10 for everybody. And is it pessimism? Is it realism? Is it we don't trust him and his body? How are we feeling in general? I know Ryan and Josh have spoken on this topic. I'll start with
all I'll say is it's the 4 games for me. I want to see so much more. So I'll let Joel and Chris add anything they want to it, but it's the lack of games for me.
Joel, I'll start with you because you have the Jonathan Taylor jersey behind you.
So like when I do my rankings, it's not on projected points or how they're going to finish. It's just how I would draft them. So, I mean, if we're going to be intellectually honest, I've got him at QB 10. He's not going to finish QB 10. That's a really narrow outcome. He's either going to be QB 4 or he's going to be QB 34, one of the two. So, I mean, you got to kind of pick your poison. Like Ryan said, do you trust him to play games? Do you trust him to not have to leave games? Because that's the killer, right? If you're going to miss a game, that's fine. I can deal with that. If you're going to leave 2 games at halftime or in the second quarter, that's a killer because I'm starting you and you're actively costing me points. So, I think he will probably. I think he'll probably be fine. I think he'll play games, and I think he'll probably be really good. But yeah, there's a significant risk there. So he's not someone I'm willing to take with real high draft capital because then I'm not going to want to have. I'm going to want to be able to back him up with somebody in a similar tier because I'm not going to trust that. So somebody's probably going to take him higher than I will.
Chris,
I think Joel's absolutely right. He's being drafted at its ceiling right now. I think he's a QB 6 or 7, something like that. But I think Anthony Richardson is going to have the kind of passing season that people are projecting Jane Daniels to have, 18, 19, 20 touchdowns here. And that's not going to get it done, especially because he's going to run the ball less than Jane Daniels with those injuries. He's right outside my rankings at QB 13, but it's a pass for me this year.
I actually think he runs more than Jaden Daniels.
I was going to say,
because
didn't he average like 10 carries a game in the games that he did play last year? It's just funny.
I honestly would not be surprised if they run him like an actual running back and they do a bunch of like wing T formations and like.
Not with Jonathan Taylor.
But he's injury prone.
Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing. What I'm basically getting at is if you told me that both Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson had over 200 carries, I'd believe it. I fully expect this offense to lead the NFL in rushing attempts this year.
Sure, that's fair. So they're just saying, fuck the future. We're trying to win with Anthony Richardson in the next 3 years because we're not signing him to a second contract because he'll be.
You mean for the next 3 weeks?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the interior of his body is going to look like an 85-year-old woman by his 3rd year in the NFL. So it's just. You can't do that. Like they need to coach him to not run like Cam Newton. They need to coach him to run more like Russell Wilson early in his career when he would slide and reach the ball and just run out of bounds. Like, yes, you're a big dude. You can take a couple hits every now and then, but slow down.
But clearly, he can't take those big hits because it's already sidelined.
How are we in the year 2024 and we are still talking about mobile quarterbacks who can't slide? How is that not just a part of the fucking regiment? Like, it drives me nuts.
Did anybody watch this week's Hard Knocks, the premiere episode with the Bears?
No.
They literally did a whole entire segment on teaching quarterbacks how to slide. And Caleb Williams' whole thing was, well, I never played baseball, so I never had to learn how to slide.
Yeah. Well, when you brought up Russell Wilson.
Yeah, he's a baseball
good college player. Baseball.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Kyler Murray.
Baseball
drafted first round in MLB draft.
Patrick Mahomes.
Drafted first round.
Yeah.
Tom Brady. Draft pick for the Montreal Expos.
Had to slide all the time.
Brother had a hose behind the plate. He was a catcher, for those that don't know. 1999 Montreal Expos draft pick, Mr. Tom Brady.
Tom Brady was a catcher.
He was a catcher. You're 100%.
Thinking back to that combine photo, and it just doesn't scream catcher to me.
Dude, listen. Catchers in the 90s weren't athletic at all.
That's fair.
Yeah. Also,
trust me, I know. I played catcher.
There you go.
Also, like, again, we're going back like 70 years prior, but like if you looked at Babe Ruth and said, yeah, that guy's an MLB Hall of Famer, and then you look at fucking Aaron Judge and they wore the same uniform, you're like, I don't think those two guys played the same sport. I think one smoked cigarettes was
While-
at a bowling
while
alley his
playing
entire
said
life.
sport.
Yeah, like was at a bowling alley his entire life, and Aaron Judge was like a power lifter. So yeah, it's different eras, most definitely. But yeah, Brady had a cannon behind home plate. Sleepers now, my favorite, because I always go quarterback late. So this is my favorite part. In a 1 QB league, obviously 2 QBs, every guy we're going to talk about here is probably gone by like the 4th round. And that might even be late, in all honesty.
Well,
So
if we're talking like home leagues, yeah, a lot of these guys will be gone by the 4th, 5th round.
that's what I'm saying. Like the 4th round might be the last time you see these guys. 5th if you're lucky. And this is a 1 QB league, and I'll go right down the list. Josh, you have Matthew Stafford is the last guy from your rankings you're willing to start week 1. Why?
I mean, he's my QB 18, and 3 words: healthy Cooper Kupp. That's all I need to know.
And dog status, the man is the modern day Phillip Rivers.
I did just want to throw out
low-end
my
QB1.
whole thought process behind this question was what Josh just said, and it's going to come up for the rest of us as well, is Josh is willing to start in a 1 QB league. His QB 18, folks. That's how deep quarterback could possibly be this year. That in week 1, if 17 quarterbacks went off the board ahead of Josh and he still got his QB 18, it's not the worst thing in the world. And I just want people to think about that when they're taking these quarterbacks early in fantasy drafts.
And hey, he goes back home to Detroit on Sunday Night Football in week 1, folks. Look out.
There you go.
3
I
touchdowns.
knew there was Kismet there somewhere. So.
Did any of you look at the week 1 performances? You
I
just
did
said
not,
fuck.
actually.
Okay.
I didn't necessarily mean the week 1 matchup, Joe. You went very literal there. I meant the whole, like, you walk out of your draft with this guy and you're happy
Sure.
about it. So.
Okay, yeah. I'm still going to give the week 1 matchup.
That's
but yeah, I
interesting,
agree
though.
with
Yeah,
that.
that's a really good
I agree
point,
with that.
so.
Ryan, because
Playing the streaming game already.
I thought this was a streaming question. Like that's what I thought was kind of a streaming question. But
No,
Ryan,
I hadn't dug that deep yet. So
Ryan, you have your 17, 18, and 19.
So 17 is where I'm comfortable, and then 18 and 19 is it gets a little sketchy for me.
So 17 is Jaden Daniels.
Obviously,
And
and for all the reasons Chris has laid out, I don't need to describe Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, and Jaden
I'm
Daniels. Jaden Daniels week 1 will be in Tampa Bay.
Okay.
And then your 18 and 19 in order: Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers. Kirk Cousins is at home against Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers is 4 plays into San Francisco before tearing his other Achilles.
Yeah,
So-
obviously matchup dependent. I would rather go Cousins over Rodgers there because that might not be a great matchup. And then of course there's the 4-play curse at this point. I want to see more out of Kirk Cousins. The camp reports have been nice. I'm not concerned about him losing Rondale Moore. For those who aren't complete morons like I am who live and breathe this shit, Rondale Moore was actually practicing behind Ray McLeod when he got hurt. So
Ray's a dog.
yeah, I'd say so. But you're hearing great camps out of Darnell Mooney. You're hearing great camps out of Drake London. And most importantly, the best player in Falcons camp right now is Kyle Pitts. So there's a lot of good things to hear that Kirk Cousins is playing without limitations with this receiving group who's looking really good in another offense that I want a part of. So yeah, if it came down to it and all these quarterbacks were gone and I had to start Kirk Cousins week 1, as long as these camp reports continue, I'm not mad about digging that deep into my rankings.
Okay. Chris, you go all the way down to 21 and 22. You have Kirk Cousins at 22, but you have Justin Herbert at quarterback 21. Obviously has an injury that he's currently dealing with right now, but the Chargers play at home against the Raiders week 1.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I was frantically looking up what the week 1 schedule was. I was like, I didn't know this turned into a streamer
I mean,
question.
it's a home game, but it's a road game at the same time. But also,
That's fair.
do Raiders fans really even travel? Do Raiders fans even exist? Is a real
Most
question.
of them are in LA, so that makes sense.
This is true.
So Justin Herbert, for basically the reasons that like I hope he gets back to where he used to be. I hope Lad McConkey hits Josh Palmer. I'm just hoping for good things for the Chargers. Herbert has that ability. We've seen that before. I'd be very comfortable starting him against the Raiders week 1. We'll see. And then Cousins, same thing. I don't know about week 1 against the Steelers, if I'm reading that right.
Mm-hmm. At home against the Steelers.
That's not great, but he's someone I could just set and forget, to be honest, unless he just bombs. Reason being is QB 15 through QB 22 Cousins. They're only separated in my rankings by less than 30 points, so that's less than 2 points per game. I'm fine with taking any of they're all the same tier, so I'm fine with taking anyone from that tier.
Very fair. I will echo Chris' sentiment. Love the players on the Chargers, but I really hope they go 0-17, but they score like 700 points this season. I just need them to lose like 36-35 every week because fuck Jim Harbaugh. I love all this. There's really no guy you're like, fuck that guy on the Chargers. No, they're all great. The coach just happens to be a dingbat, so I can't go full in on that. And Joel, you're the third guy, Kirk Cousins. Is there anything else to add there?
Yeah, I mean, he was QB5 when he got hurt last year. All he does is put up, top 12 QB seasons when he's healthy. So I don't know why that's going to stop. He's got 2 elite weapons in Pitts and London. We've heard that they're going to start giving Kyle Pitts some layup opportunities instead of just making him do the highest degree of difficulty shit that you can imagine. So, I don't see any reason why he's not a startable quarterback.
Yeah. And Jay just has a question. He knows we're talking quarterbacks, but let's play the game that Ayuk is gone. Let's assume that the 49ers do get a wide receiver 2 as compensation in the package. The trade rumors with Cleveland is Amari Cooper. The trade rumors with Pittsburgh are Roman Wilson. Feels weird to just get another rookie receiver to throw into the mix, but let's say they get a wide receiver 2. How far up, if any, does Deebo Smith move in any of your rankings? Josh, I'll go with you. You don't have to go too far into it, but does he move up?
Deebo Samuel, yes. He will move up at some point.
Did I say Deebo Samuel?
I only have him.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
I don't know.
I have Deebo currently as wide receiver 38, which I know I'm a lot lower on than most.
Shit, that's low. 38?
He better be moving up then.
No, he'll move up a lot.
38.
He'll be a wide receiver. He'll be a wide receiver too. I mean, I don't know what the final numbers
he
will
should be like, okay.
Okay, I can't wait for the wide receiver show.
I'll throw I was going to say the wide receiver show is going to be interesting. Deebo is currently my wide receiver 10, but to be fair, I have been projecting.
I'm never high on Deebo though. That's the problem.
Not. Yeah, I've been projecting this offense as if Ayuk's role is at least going to quote unquote be reduced. So I've had Ayuk floating between 105 and 115 targets just to see how everything's going to float. So that's kept Deebo roughly in that same range. But then Deebo's rushing upside in a year where we're already seeing a Christian McCaffrey injury. I don't think we're going to see less rushing out of Deebo. We did say on a previous show, and I will hold to this, and it reflected in my rankings. I did a small tweak to kind of compensate for this Ayuk trade. George Kittle literally shot up into my top 5. George Kittle is the big winner of this trade, but I do have Deebo Samuel as a top 10 wide receiver.
Chris, Joel?
I don't think he makes it into the top 10. I have him at wide receiver 16. I think I agree with Ryan that I would foresee Kittle getting a lot of those targets as well as if Amari Cooper comes to town. Deebo's always the kind of 90 to 100 target kind of player, 30 to 50.
Yeah, if Amari Cooper comes, I don't know that it moves the needle much for me.
Anything.
Yeah, if it's fucking Roman Wilson, let's be clear here. Roman Wilson already dealing with an injury. Ricky Pearsall already dealing with an injury. Deebo Samuel might have 150 targets, which sounds insane to say out loud.
Look, I think Ayuk nixed the Patriots trade because he didn't want to go to New England, or New England didn't want to pay him.
Actually,
they were talking like that.
I heard he nixed it because he didn't want Kendrick Bourne to come to San Francisco and make him look bad.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is if San Fran got Kendrick Bourne,
Deebo who? Deebo who?
I don't know about Deebo who, because Kendrick hasn't been able to stay healthy.
I know.
But truly, I think Kendrick Bourne would have been a
perfect complement to Deebo Samuel in that offense. That would have been crazy.
Joel,
I just want to point out really quick, the stat line that I currently have Deebo projected for isn't really much different than what he did last year. I have a few less touchdowns. That's it. He's an odd even type guy. 2 years ago, he had 2 receiving touchdowns. The year before that was 6. He had 7 last year. His stats are coming down this year. That's all I'm going to say.
There you go.
I love the logic there. Joel, anything?
Okay.
I'll just say that in best ball, and best ball is the Twitter of fantasy football, right? You're either super into it or you don't know it exists. Deebo is now a first-round pick, so he's a late first-rounder. He's lapped Puka because of the Puka injury.
He's a first-round pick?
He's a first-round pick now.
Please draft running
like-
backs.
This guy was a legit league winner in the playoffs, in the fantasy playoffs last year. He really exploded down the stretch. Yeah, I think he's definitely a top 15 guy. I don't know if I could put him top 10 like Ryan does, but I think he's got to be in the top 15.
I swear that if I'm picking 8 in a 10-team league. I swear if I walk out of that league with Breece Hall and Jahmyr Gibbs, that's criminal. I want it to happen.
Yeah,
but
I
that's
didn't expect to hear him getting up into round 1. I've been landing him just as a value.
He's currently the wide receiver 12 in best ball right now. Deebo.
I have so many best ball.
So,
if you look at recent drafts, he's
shooting up
consistently going in the around 10, 11, 12. He goes in the first round.
I wouldn't even touch him in where he was going in the first half of the second round.
I was getting him there in certain league makeups where I was trying to do special builds, certainly builds where I was focusing on that Detroit-San Francisco Week 17 game. I was taking flyers. I did a lot of builds where I started off with Amon-Ra St. Brown and then Deebo Samuel very much on purpose. So.
I'm never in the market to take Deebo because he seems to go in that range where I'm looking like I'm drafting my running backs early, so I'm never on Deebo. The one year I was when his first year that he really popped, but he was obviously later in drafts.
Yeah.
So I took him in like the
ninth. I'll say round 1
1,000-yard season in his career.
Yeah, even as someone who has him the highest rated amongst our group, I'm not touching Deebo Samuel in round 1 in no circumstance.
God, no. All right. We'll go into draft costs, and we have our good buddy David Burns watching from Cedar Hill, Texas. So I'm going to start with Ryan and assume that David's favorite team is the Cowboys. And, I haven't met a Texans fan in my life, so I have to imagine he's a Cowboys fan.
That's fair.
Your perfect quarterback this season, the one, the only, unpaid Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I think Dak's going to play regardless. And then when you just look at the ADP, what's funny is no quarterbacks feel late this season, but I guess if everybody's early, then the back end of that still kind of plays with the late narrative. But you're able to get Dak Prescott in best ball drafts in the 7th, 8th round. Right now in regular drafts, it's looking like somewhere around the 6th to 7th round. He's typically going off the board between the 8th and 10th quarterback. And in a 10-team league for a guy who I think has top 3, top 2, maybe top 1 upside, Dak Prescott is the guy I want to walk out of every draft with. I will say, I poured cold water on myself earlier on the show. I want to see what happens with CeeDee Lamb as this Lamb thing progresses into the preseason. I'm going to get more and more nervous, but for right now, I'm going to take. I don't necessarily lean on the heavy rushing upside quarterbacks just because of the injury history. The guys who I would want would be, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, but I'm not going to pay those prices when I can wait 4 to 6 rounds later and get Dak Prescott. So based on cost, Dak Prescott's my guy.
Chris, you also put Prescott, but I'll let you give the perfect quarterback talk to Jaden Daniels if you'd like.
Everyone's probably sick of my Jaden Daniels talk. But I will say, based on the offensive line comments earlier, they did go sign Tyler Biadasz from Dallas to be their center. They signed Andrew Wiley. They signed Nick Allegretti. This is all of the last 2 years. And then they drafted Brandon Coleman to be their starting left tackle on day 2. So they're working on that offensive line. Not to push Jaden Daniels too much, but Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson Jr., Ben Sinnott from Kansas State. Zach Ertz is going to soak up those short targets. I think he's got a good cast. He's got a play caller that will put him in the top 10 if he stays healthy all year. And if he doesn't, I'll just leave my draft with Kirk Cousins in like the 15th round. Oh, well.
Joel, I'm going to send it to you for Kyler Murray being your perfect quarterback this season.
Yeah, I think he's got a low-key kind of MVP potential outlook. I mean, they can legitimately win this division, right? I mean, the 49ers are just the Rams are beat the hell up. They have no offensive line left. Their defense is beat. They're beat up.
They still always beat Arizona.
That's true.
That's great.
The teams in that division, they have one team that they just fucking own, and that team can never beat them. That's the Rams and the Cardinals, 100%.
Okay, fair. But like Seattle's going through an entire coaching change. They've got Geno Smith at quarterback. This team could legitimately be the Texans of this year and win that division. Give that defense a year in Jonathan Gannon's system. That's not super talented, but he could make a difference there. You're giving him, you've got Trey McBride, you've got Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson's a good third receiver. They've got weapons. They've got James Conner.
That's
this is a
Mr.
MVP.
Sophia Smith to you. They just got engaged. Congratulations,
That's true.
Sophia Smith and Michael Wilson. American hero Sophia Smith currently. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, but I think this could be like a down ballot MVP season from Kyler Murray. I could see that team being potentially pretty good. So, yeah, I think where you're getting him at QB 9, 10, something like that, I think that's a really good cost for him.
I do agree
I
about
just
the MVP
do not
part of this.
understand the Jonathan Gannon love. He is not good. I'm sorry.
Really?
Not good.
Did he get them to a Super Bowl or just he shit the bed in the Super Bowl, but he got them to a Super Bowl.
No, our defensive line got us to the Super Bowl.
So Josh,
How'd they do last year without him? How was that defense last year?
Look, we had 70 sacks last year. Of course we were going to regress from that.
That was 2 years ago.
So
how did they do last year without him? How did they do last year without him?
We lost our
Worst
entire
passing defense in the
secondary
league, something like that.
You lost your entire secondary 2 years ago, too. Listen, all I'm saying is what the Cardinals did in their first year with that bum-ass fucking defense, Gannon made it look like a decent NFL defense a lot of the time.
If you have Joe defending a coach, I don't think we need to go any further.
I'm not here to say Jonathan Gannon's the greatest fucking coach in the NFL, but 4 weeks into the season, we were saying, like, we came into the season, the Cardinals were going to be the worst fucking team in the NFL, bar none, wasn't even close.
That's fair.
That defense looked like competent.
Yeah.
Like, they were, on paper, that is a bottom 5 NFL defense. That defense is horrid. And that
Offense
defense
looks
was
solid, too.
competent. And then Kyler Murray comes back, and he looks okay.
Yeah.
And now he's a full off season. They have weapons. Like, I'm not saying Jonathan Gannon's the fucking answer, but he may be a better head coach than he is a coordinator. That happens. You're a better leader of men and a better leader of a locker room than you are a coordinator. That happens. You're also a better coordinator than you are a leader of
Problem
men,
is,
Josh
he still calls
McDaniels.
plays on defense.
And his defense wasn't bad last year.
I would take Gannon over Sirianni 1,000 times out of
1
1,000.
million times. Sirianni is a fucking frat boy that they picked up at a college bar and said, hey, we'll pay you a lot of money to just do this in front of a camera. Josh, now to you, Jordan Love, perfect quarterback on the season. Why do you think that? Is it because he's now the highest paid quarterback in the NFL with one season of starting under his belt and a sub 500 playoff record? Continue.
What? He's 500.
Okay. 500 playoff record. Continue.
That's pretty good.
It's all about draft costs. I
Hey,
mean, he finished as a top 5 quarterback last year. He was 3rd in passing touchdowns, and he's barely a top 10. He's barely being drafted as a top 10 quarterback this year. That's absolute money when you're talking about waiting at the quarterback position. So that's an easy one for me.
500 playoff record is better than Drew Brees. Fun fact, who is 8-9 in his.
That's
NFL.
fine. I personally don't care about that because most people aren't playing their regular season in the playoffs.
I stopped caring. I stopped caring about fantasy or about football at week 17, baby.
Ryan stops caring actually in the championship. He doesn't set his lineup.
Nope.
Mostly because he's not making it there.
I got there.
But, yeah.
Fuck you.
All right. I'm going to go through just a couple of notes and then I'm going to end it on one final question. Just a fun little tidbit that Baker Mayfield was quarterback 10 last year. No one has him inside of his top 15. Ryan said that's an interesting note for anyone to chime in on. I'll chime in on it. No Dave Canales, no Baker Mayfield in the top 15. So there you go. Bryce Young was bad last year, quarterback 23, but the consensus puts him at 28 this year. Question is, do we not trust Dave Canales? Is he going to be worse? Well, he is missing the first preseason game. So what does that say about Bryce Young's toughness is what this analyst asks. And what I'm going to end it on is if you knew they were playing 17 games, guaranteed 17 games, who would you rather have on your fantasy football team? And I will start with Josh and go around the horn. Ryan, Chris, Joel. Drake May, Bo Nix, Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, J.J. McCarthy, Sam Darnold. Josh.
this should be literally everybody's answer. It's Justin Fields, and it's not close.
He doesn't belong in this discussion.
I was going to say,
really
Ryan.
Yeah, let's take him out of the
I just took all the muddied quarterbacks. So, yeah.
So consensus Justin Fields. Take him out.
Okay.
Who would you rather? May, Nix, O'Connell, Minshew, Wilson, McCarthy, Darnold, Josh.
It definitely gets more interesting.
Okay, there you go. My bad. I just typed them all out. So
Fields is going to run for 100 yards a game. Like
that's why Joe's here, is to clean up my mess.
Correct.
I'll stay in Pittsburgh. It's Russ. I mean, everybody talked about how quote unquote bad he was in Denver. He still had 28 passing touchdowns. So, I mean,
Ryan.
he can throw a deep ball. That's what George Pickens does well. He gets down the field. That's really what Arthur Smith's offense wants to do. They want to run the football and they want to play action pass. And they've got a competent quarterback that knows how to do that. So, yeah, it's Russ for me.
Ryan.
I definitely would have said Fields. So thank you guys for cleaning that up. Close for me between Sam Darnold and Gardner Minshew. Darnold with those weapons, him or McCarthy, but I would just trust Darnold's NFL experience with those weapons. But I'm going to go with Minshew, assuming Devontae Adams is going to be there. You have Devontae Adams, you have Jacoby Myers, you have Brock Bowers. I think Gardner Minshew with
But
those
most
weapons,
importantly, you have Gardner Minshew.
you have Gardner fucking Minshew.
Yeah.
You have a coach that I think is going to love the fire that Gardner Minshew brings in Antonio Pierce. Unfortunately, you also have Luke Getsy's offense, which both quarterbacks are already struggling with. But if I knew he was going to play 17 games with Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and Brock Bowers, give me my boy, Gardner Minshew.
Chris.
Oh, it's an easy one for me. It's Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix with Sean Payton, who people still think is the QB whisperer.
He's not.
Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, his running mate from college. I think Bo Nix got better and better and better every year, the 12 or so years he played in college.
There's no disputing that. He did get better every year.
He's ready for the NFL, in my opinion, and he's got the weapons surrounding him, plus 20 rushing touchdowns in his last 2 years in Oregon.
Joel.
I'll say McCarthy, just because I begrudgingly really think Kevin O'Connell's a goddamn good coach, and he's got Justin Jefferson and probably Jordan Addison for most of the season. It's a very quarterback friendly offense. And I agree with you, Joe, that people think that Sean Payton's a quarterback whisperer, but he is not. So I would take O'Connell over Payton a billion times out of a billion. So yeah, I just think that's a very quarterback friendly offense. And if I knew McCarthy was getting 17 games, I'd take him.
I'm gonna go opposite. I like probably the layup answer is Russell Wilson. I think I do like Russell Wilson. I like Aiden O'Connell. I don't think he's a horrible quarterback, and I think he, in fantasy terms, can get the job done. Again, this is such a hypothetical scenario that shit is never going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's why I did it. I wish I had read you guys. It's funny, in my brain, I was like, Justin Fields is the answer here. I didn't figure that every other. Of course, he's the fucking answer.
Of course, he's the fucking answer.
He's had 1,000 yards rushing as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Of course, he's the answer.
I love Aiden O'Connell. I do like him. I don't think he's going to get. I don't think he's even going to get as much of a chance as Gardner Minshew potentially. But hey, let me just hype up Drake May and this KJ Osborne camp hype that he's going to be a fucking dog. And Jalen Polk, for some reason, is popping out of fucking nowhere. He looks fantastic in camp. I couldn't name you a single other weapon on this team, but I can tell you Drake May went 3 for 11 with 2 interceptions one day in camp. So that was promising.
Pretty
bad, I would say. Honestly, we will be lucky if Drake May sees the field willingly this season. I'm going to be completely honest with you. They had to say Drake May will play in the first game of the preseason, and we're all like, you fucking bet he will be. He's your third overall pick.
You better play all 3 every snap. He needs that shit.
Everyone in the Boston sports media is like, why do you have to say that? Obviously, you're going to play your third overall pick. So we're all like, are we even going to he might be third on the depth chart. People are talking about Zappy's going to get practice squad, and Joe Milton is going to be higher than this guy on the depth chart.
Joe Milton right now.
Oh, so listen.
You said willingly, so I'm thinking maybe Drake May doesn't want to play for the Patriots. I don't know.
Listen,
I would want to play for the Patriots.
I wouldn't want to play for him right now. I'm going to be honest with you. Their offensive line looks like us. Just different skin tones.
I guarantee one of them has this beard.
Short and white.
They look like us just about 100 pounds heavier, 7 inches taller, but the same amount of skill. So like it's pretty much, if you did our Madden ratings, pretty much the same.
That's the Patriots.
All like high 60s, and then like you know how that kicker's thrown in as the quarterback 3 and he's 12 overall. I don't know. That's one of us.
That's the backups.
Pick your poison. That's one of us. It's not pretty. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the quarterbacks ranking show. Same time next week, 9 p.m. We will have the running back ranking show. I will not be here because work trip to Las Vegas. Oh no!
Woo!
I get paid to go to Las Vegas. Oh no, that sucks. So no, I won't be here next week. I'll be here in 2 weeks.
All right, everybody else can celebrate my birthday with me, Joe. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. My birthday's on Sunday, so I'll be celebrating a late birthday by gambling in Vegas. So thank you. But yes, you can celebrate Josh's birthday. You can also celebrate with us at 7 p.m. Women of Fantasy Football, as we are. Make sure you've been reading that little ticker at the bottom, trophysmack.com / WOFF. Every purchase that we have on there, all of it for the month of August is going to go towards our Women of Fantasy Football raffles, which is all supporting a galvanized scholarship. Couldn't find the word. Josh, flash the jerseys because this week we have, which one is the first one? A number 28 Marshall Faulk jersey.
And
Legend.
Bijan Robinson.
And then a gradient red to black Bijan Robinson jersey. Who's better? Hard to say. Bijan Robinson. No, Marshall Faulk, one of the greatest offenses to ever exist in a single season. With Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Marshall Faulk, and the Kurt Warner. And then you have one of the greatest offenses to ever exist in 2023, led by Arthur Smith and Desmond Ridder. Bijan Robinson.
Tyler Algier.
Jonnu Smith. Tyler Algier. The fuck else is there? I don't know. Mac Hollins. All those absolute dogs in Atlanta. No, there's some great ones. Again, thank you to all that have participated in the raffle. If you have not yet, $5. That's it. You could purchase one raffle ticket. You could purchase 100. If you purchase one, you may just end up getting a Deion Sanders jersey like I did because they said, hey, that one looks cool. I'm going to put $5 on the Marshall Faulk one again just to see. Yeah. Who knows? We'll roll the fucking dice on it. No, Chris is probably going to put 150 on that one.
At least.
That's a good jersey. There's a throwback jersey too. That's a nice one. But again, Women Fantasy Football 7:00. We have. Remind me, Josh. I know the two. I'm just forgetting.
Drew Jones from Galvanize.
Thank you.
And our very own Renee.
Renee. Yes. Boom.
A lot to talk about because both of them covered the Super Bowl this year. So
yes,
I'm really excited to get both of them
very
on
Super Bowl show.
Yes.
and hear about their stories. So.
And fun. Renee will, that entire segment will be in Spanish, live on Telemundo.
I don't know if it'll all be in Spanish. But
no.
She does speak English.
She does speak English, but she also speaks a lot of Spanish. So Josh is going to bring on his mother to translate. And for those that don't know, Josh's mother is a Spanish teacher. Josh is Hispanic, knows hola, and that's it. So that is the extent of Joshua's Spanish. For Josh, Ryan, Joel, Chris, myself, and one ranker who's not here, Mr. Austin Amendolia. You can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. Again, the next 3 weeks, we're at a special time of 9 p.m. because Women of Fantasy Football takes over at 7 p.m. We're back next week, 9 p.m., to discuss the running back rankings. We'll see you